Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So we're getting a bit of a reputation for growing our ginger, and today what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant out some of the ginger that I've got sprouted already, and I'll tell you a little bit about how I got it sprouted. If you're in a warm climate, growing ginger in the ground absolutely fine, but in our climate, in a temperate climate where it gets slightly colder, I like to grow in containers. Now ideally I would have used a black container, but this container is a really nice shape actually, because it's quite wide, probably about 14-15 inches at the top, wide. So it's just over a foot, and it's similar sort of depth. So that gives me the plenty of size to grow my ginger. Like with all my pots, I'm going to start this pot off with adding a couple of inches of woody matter or woody material to the bottom. So I like to use wood chips. So that just saves on compost. It allows the soil to hold on to moisture, but it also free drains as well because of the way the wood chips are. They're an uneven texture, water gets between those cracks. And now, I'm going to completely fill this container with compost. So there we go. And this compost mix, this mix is homemade compost mixed with a little bit of garden soil and a bit of sand. So it's free draining, but it holds on to plenty of moisture as well. So it stays nice and friable, and it gives the ginger plenty of room to expand. And here's my ginger, and as you can see, I've got a few shoots on it. And what I did with this was I took an ordinary piece of shop bought ginger and I soaked it for a day, maybe 2 days, that sort of time, and giving it a couple of water changes just to allow the plant to reinvigorate, sort of revitalise, completely come back to life, get nice and plump and ready to grow. Don't worry about things like growth inhibitors and stuff like that. It's very rarely the case that ginger has that on it. So don't really worry about that. In our climate, they're not really expected to sprout. So don't worry about stuff like that. Now, I've got a few pieces in here. I bought one big piece and I took out the pieces with the eyes on them, the ones that I expected to be able to grow on. And I got them to sprout, and then I've cut them into separate pieces, and they're the ones that I've grown on. So I've got 4 separate pieces. You can see where I made the cut. There's another eye there, and you can see there's a sprout coming. So the way I'm going to plant this ginger, that one is just about forming a sprout. I'm not going to plant this one out here. I'm actually going to stick this one back in the tub and take him inside the house again for a little bit longer and just let it grow on before I'm happy with planting that one outside. The way ginger root grows is there's the roots, so there's the roots coming down. They'll suck up all the nutrients and stuff to feed the plant, and they can go down to well over a foot deep. So I don't know if you saw my ginger harvest from a couple of years ago where I pulled out the plant and the root was all the way from the top to the bottom of a 16-inch pot. But either way, they can go down quite a bit, so that's why you want the depth on this. I'm going to plant 3 pieces into this. What you'll notice is the way I plant it is I'm going to plant it so that the root is just going to sit. Let me actually add a tiny bit more compost in there. There we go. A little bit more. There we go. That's okay. That's better. So the way I'm going to plant it is I'm going to plant it so that root goes into the soil, and that's going to pull up all my nutrients, and I'm just going to rest it on the top. The way it is now, so this ginger that's here, this is the old piece, and then these little buds here, these are going to grow and they're going to grow and they're going to grow and expand, and they're the things that will form the new ginger plant or the new ginger root. So I'm going to be gentle with the way I'm going to place it into the ground, place the ginger tuber into the soil. And there we go, get those roots in, nestled in nice and tight. And then I'm going to get some compost over the top. See, the thing about ginger is it wants a nice warm climate. Remember, this is a tropical plant. It needs lots and lots of heat. In our climate, it's just not going to get that. So this really needs to grow in a greenhouse. It needs to grow somewhere humid. If you've got a bathroom, if you've got space in your bathroom, ideal place to grow it actually. Not necessarily loads and loads of light, because remember, ginger grows at the bottom of it's at the bottom of a jungle, so understory plant. So don't worry about excess amounts of light, and a bathroom would be perfect near near a window. Ginger doesn't overwinter very well in the UK. I know quite a few people who struggle with overwintering ginger. I mean, it's not the easiest plant to overwinter in the world. I have done a couple of videos on overwintering ginger, but yeah, it's not the easiest plant to overwinter in the world. Now, so there I've got my nice big 3 pieces of ginger. I'm going to give that a good solid watering now. And there we go. I'm going to water it in nice and well. So when you're getting ginger to sprout off, after that initial soak, I don't really water the soil that much. I keep it somewhere nice and warm, somewhere heated propagate is ideal. On top of your boiler, on top of somewhat near the radiator. Seal it in a Tupperware tub, and it'll automatically, you'll see it sprout really, it'll sprout quite easily actually. Once you've got it past the sprouting stage and you've got those calyces hardened off, then and you've got these leaves coming on, now it's ready to go outside. Another little thing that can happen sometimes with ginger is, you see how some of these leaves are a little bit brown on the end? What's happening with this is, because the room that I've got it in is not quite humid enough, the leaves aren't unfolding quite nicely, and that top spike is getting caught inside and it's not stretching itself out. So that's a problem with humidity that's causing that. So when I plant this one out, I'm going to give that a good soaking all around, all the leaves and everything like that. Just make sure the water stays on the leaves. I've actually got another pot ready here with soil already prepped, and this guy is just going to go right into the middle of my bucket. And look at the way I'm placing this one. If I'm just placing one piece on its own, I'm placing it towards one side and I'm tipping it up at a little bit of an angle. So the ginger tuber will form across the surface, and it'll sort of grow at an angle so it's not exactly horizontal, it'll grow upwards. So that's what we're trying to encourage it to do when we're planting it. So we're just giving it that little covering, and there we go. Absolutely beautiful. Just as I'm handling this now, I can smell the ginger, I can smell the fragrance of the ginger. It's just really nice. The pH of the soil is not massively important, but what it does like, so something around neutral, slightly acidic will be perfectly fine. But what it does like is it does need that warmth. You don't want ginger to ever be sat in cold, wet soil, because if it does, it'll just end up going to mush. And that's what we want to really avoid with this. I mean, for most people, a tub like this is just way too big to put in the house, and I've got the same problem. So one of the biggest warnings about growing ginger is ginger hates being sat in cold, wet soil. So now that I've given this a good water, if you're worried about the nighttime temperature dropping, make sure even in the greenhouse you've got it extra protected, and that's what we'll do with this. So let's get this guy inside the greenhouse first of all. Yeah, so this ginger plant is going to go right here in a corner of my greenhouse where I can still get access to my workbench on the top. And it's not the warmest, it's not going to be the warmest tonight, it's going to be about 8-9 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a little bit of a covering with this. It's a cake tray. I mean, they have multiple uses, so one of the uses that I'm going to use for it is give it a second life. I'm going to give it a second life as a cloche. So we're just going to prop it up a little bit off the top of the ginger so it has, plenty of room underneath. The forecast for tomorrow is not going to be extremely sunny. It's going to be a little bit overcast, so I'm not too worried about it overheating in there. That's perfect. I mean, one of the things you could do at this stage is actually, sprinkle a little bit of chicken manure over the top, or you could have even mixed that into the composting mix. So that chicken manure will just give it a little bit of a boost and allow those plants to grow on really nice. So we'll give it a nice bit of protection in there. I'll take the other ginger plant to the other greenhouse and we'll keep it growing in there. I think we're on for a good ginger harvest this year. We get a good crop of ginger every year. Our ginger growing exploits have been around the world. I mean, we were down in London showing Marcus Wearing how to grow his ginger. We've been on Gardener's World, you know, showing growing ginger. So our reputation for growing ginger has gone really viral. Once you've tasted fresh ginger, you'll never want to go back. I mean, it's hard for us to grow ginger over here, but a little bit of practice and a little bit of patience, we can do it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe for regular updates. We also make videos on Patreon if you'd like to support us. That's a great way of supporting us. I'll see you on the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.